Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to design an HTML structure so that we can able to apply CSS rule that we have learned so far. So if you can see, these are focal points for the structure we want to design. So far, we have learned a lot of elements in HTML that we can able to apply in coming out with a structure like this. So this is a page, a profile page, and it contains some simple information with menus and then the page heading with some content in. So these are focal points. So in we are going to design the HTML structure. Then after we can able to apply CSS rule using the element selector we have learned from our previous video. All right. So before that, we open our VS Code and then we go and then we create a folder in there. So we are going to create a folder in our VS Code. So that's what we are going to do in this way. So first of all, let's create a new file. Then out of that, we'll create a folder and keep in our items in there. So we go to file, new test file, and then we'll save it. Control S. I'm using Windows, and then you find the location where you want to save your app or your information. So our first page will be index.html. So that's index.html in there. So we have created our first page. In an aspect, we can create a folder and then we organize our other files in there. So we'll create a folder and then exploit the work inside what we have done so far in there. So in our first index page, we are going to create our HTML structure and then we will start putting in our content. So we'll do a material sign and then the structure count. So this is a structure that we have now. So now when you look at our focal points, that is it. And I've already shared a PDF file which give an explanation of our focal point. So basically the website is a student profile project and the content is structured as you can see over there. And the content want to use HTML5 semantic elements in doing that. So I'm going to take my time and explain the content structure, and then out of that, we will design the HTML structure. So this is the content you have as your student profile project. That's the title of the project. And in the project where we have the menus, you have the home, profile, academic skills, and then contacts and then login. So these are the menu. But however, we are going to focus on a few ones in there, and then later on we can add the rest. So in breaking down the contents, if you see the other aspects, we have where the student profile, that's the main website, and then underneath we have the header side. So I'll talk about the header side. We have the website title and then information about the students. And then we have our navigation information here where it will navigate through our website. So all these one from the home. So the navigation are list of items. So we have the home, the profile, and then this one are sub menus under the profile. So it's fall under it is a list item under the profile. Then the third list is the item is the academics. And then you find the courses in under. And then so the courses in the and then another courses we have sub list items. So with the under the academic list we have it have two list items, the courses and the projects. And other courses, the courses have a list items and the projects also have a list item in there. And then the next one is the skills. So the skills is also part of the main menu, the academics in over there. So we can check our focal point to see our menu. So as you can see, home, profile, academic, skills, and then hobby, and then contacts. So we can add more and more of that. So that's where the main list. So the list contains one, two, home, profile, making it two, academic three, 4, 5, 6. So there has a six list item in our first list, and the other list some are having drop downs with other sub list items in there. So we are going to see how we can able to achieve it with our PDF. So that's what this PDF is basically about. I've shared with you in there. Now after that, there's a part which talk about the content. So this is the main content. So the main content too, we have a part, a section for about me, and these are the details there. Students photo with some introduction about the person, another your personal information over there. And then you have another section which talks about education. So your basic education, secondary school, a few items that you want to put it there, and then your skills. The third section, we have the third section where it talks about the skills. So other skills that we have with the web development in there. So the web development is the first skills, and then these are the things that he knows under the web development, and that are skills in there. So that's the list items, and then we come in there. We have programming, so we have Python, Java, and then C++. And then last but not the least is the hobby section. And these are items, so that you're reading, program, football, music, are these items that are hobby. And these ones are list items. So we are going to see how we can able to come out with the item structure and do that. And the last section is the contact us. So these are contact us for the last section. All right, so that's what we have. Then we have other interactive features which we add it later using JavaScript when we are doing JavaScript in there. So this one is interactive as JavaScript is interactive. So this one will be added later on. If you open the focal point, you will see other scripts where we have the tone dark mode, and then if you come down here where we have the read more, all these ones are JavaScript, and then the other part is show date. All these ones are JavaScript activity in over there. So this one will not concentrate on the JavaScript for now. We are focused on the HTML structure, how we can able to achieve the structure of the HTML. So when you go down, this is the actual content layout of the student's profile, which are going to use the semantic. So we have the other aspects in there. Now in HTML semantic, as I said, the semantic uh, web is a course of its own, but I'm going to just talk about a few things that we need to know when it comes to HTML5, some semantics that we need to know. So in the semantic, we have other semantic code in there. And then let me go down there. Let me talk about a few things about this semantic. Now the semantic, these are some of the elements, and they are all HTML elements in there. Now, what does the semantic purposely help us in doing? Now, semantics help us as we developers, web developers. Now, it helps us able to have a clear and purpose of our project or whatever content that we want to show it to our audience. Give us a clear, can able to group or put in your content in a clear way for it to achieve its purpose. So it's good for that. And then apart from that, the browser and we the developers also is able to have a clear structure. It helps we both the browser and we the developers able to organize or to where to represent our content in very well. So these are what semantics can able to do. So why semantic? Why using semantic in HTML? We already discussed this in other slides in that I'm just going to talk about. As I said, it improve readability, so it's easy for you to understand the HTML structure. We have learned some of the elements, and it improves it. The structure of the HTML, it's easy to understand when you put them in a semantic form. Those will enhance accessibility in the sense that we have screen readers who want to read the screen like visual impairment people. So this one allows for easy interpretation of our content to our screen readers with this semantic purpose, and it also supports the SEO, search engine optimization. It makes the search engine also more better to understand our content, and then when people want to search for our web application, is where part of the higher index in search engines purpose. So as I said, and also help you when you want to have maintenance for other developers. You want to also maintain. It's easy for developers able to maintain your work. They know where you have put in your content, where design, where structured in the using the semantic. So these are a few things about the semantic, as I already talked about it in the. These are what are the semantic structure in there that I want to say. Now, when you take in the semantic that is in front of us, if you take the header for instance, what do we say the header elements in the HTML5 semantic. Now the header is where normally if you have any information about your web application, so for instance maybe the logo or the web title or any information you want to introduce your audience. So it's basically about the part of the head section. So it contains the introductive of the content, what you want to produce. So maybe if you are developing, like for instance, I want to develop a page profile. So we can have student profile website or welcome student profile with a nice logo in over there. So when you take other websites, for instance, let's see this one. When you take other websites, which I wanted to show you in there, like for instance, this one is an introduction, post doctorate research in there. So this one is just to give, and they have a small information there. So it's an example of having information in the header part. Now, if you check over there, we have a logo and then a few information about this university. They have a university name and then they are welcoming information to the audience. So these ones are found in the header portion. So anything that you want to introduce to your audience, you put it in the header section over there. So this one to my personal profile with this one are all four under the header portion. When you take KSU website, where we have our logo and information about you, all these ones are found in the header section. So that's what basically the header section is about. Now, another important thing that I would want us also to talk about it is the nav part. So the nav contains the navigation link, the things that will help you to navigate, or the menus. So anything that you want to navigate into the content, linking in pages, they are all found in the nav. So that's what the nav is about. It contains navigation in about. And then the other part is the main. So the main is where the main content. So the content that you want to, it contain your actual web application, the content that you want to show to your audience. So when you take out what we want to do, or you take this website, you take from the about me, there is a content for all these ones are what is displaying, what is it about. So what content in here. So this one is where the nav in. These ones have navigation. So this one, all these one, we have the banner to also for the navigation. All these one are parts of the from the latest news and all are found in the main content. So that's what the main content is about. Now in the content you can apportion sections and populate. So if you check this website, for example, they have latest news. So it's been apportioned our program. So it's in section faculty. So if you can see, they've grouped them in 9 sections. So in semantic, we have what we call sections. So sections are used in grouping related contents, putting them in related groups so that it's easy for navigation for your audience. Now, another part I want to talk about is the article. Now, articles are independent content, what normally is used for blocking and the news and other aspects that you want to use, forums, magazine articles. They normally use the articles. So independent content. If you want to do blocking or posting or something in a web page, you can put it in the article, and it's also help in that direction. Now we have what we call the aside. So it's just a sidebar related information that you want to populate in your website, something that is cyber, any information that you want to project. So I can see where we have contact us. This one is an example of a cyber. So let me see if this our website have a cyber inside in there. So there's no sidebar. Let me see. Now most applications don't have really cyber, but those time you see some application having sidebar to help uh, audience to able to have a forum or a discussion in there. So yes, example like this place in this article. So this one is a preferred example of a cyber, something that you want to let people discuss or a forum in there. All right. And then the other part, which is the last one, is the footer. So footers are also the footer page or section where we put in other footer information. So when you take this web application, if you go down, that's where the footer is, where we have the 2026 job mention is the footer section over there. So that's the footer section in there. Now the other aspects, if you take like ASU, some people also put other information at the footer. So when you take here, like this place, all this where we have the academic online, all these parts are at the footer. So you can put some related or your menus, repopulate it in the footer or other related information at the footer. Then you have your copyrights in the attached. So all these ones are part of the footer. All these ones are in the footer. So that's what some other people put in their footer section. So that's the footer. Now, some few ones that maybe we'll talk about it. The figure are used for grouping medias and images and diagrams. This one, the figure caps are used for caption of the figure. And details whereby you have content details, you want to collapse them so they will expand, it's expandable. When they click, it expands for people to read it. That's why we use the details. And then a summary is used for heading details. So that's basically some of the semantics. So let's go back to our main focus of our project and then let's start from there. So we have the content layout. Starting from the content layout, let's see how we can able to lay our content nicely. And then we'll list these items and then go and check the various sublists under and work them. So quickly I go into my web editor in there. So we title our page, which is very important. It shows at the taskbar of the browser. So I can say students. We can say students profile. We can use for students and put their profile there, so that people can come and check and then give us other job or other offers to do a shop job. So we can design student profile website in there. So now we have done that. In the body part, we're using a semantic. We'll have a place where we want to put in our header section. So where we have our header section, let's quickly check in and then let's see. So we have a header, a little information about them, then there's the level. So I open my header nicely. So the header is being opened, and then it's being closed in there. So in between the header, when we check our focal website, we have my personal profile and then some information there, a test. So we open in there, so we can use heading one. Make sure you go for lowest case. So heading one, we just put in my personal profile. All right, and then in the next one, we have a paragraph just to put in some few ways. So maybe welcome to my personal profile of computer science student, to hyphen I'll say KST. So this one gets an information to introduce yourself to your audience. So all right, like a computer science, I can just make the first one cast in there. But CSS can able to do that. Now that we are done with the header portion, our next assignment is to create the navigation. So let's go quickly to the nav, and then we have the home profile academics in there. So I'll copy all this one for the list item that we are going to create. We have 6 list items. So I'll open my other list in there. So I tap and open, and then other list. I have 6 list items. So li, so I have the li in there, and then let me paste in the content that we are going to use in there. So I copy my li in, and then I copy the first one, which is the home in the first list, and then the second list in there. I put in profile, so that's the second list in there. I put in my profile. All right. So the profile is supposed to be here in between the open and the close. Perfect. And then the next one is academics. I put it in between with this one. And the last but not the least is the skills in there. So we are almost on course. And then last but not the least is the hobby. So this one we've done our first list item in there. So li, then we put in our contact as over there. So we are done with the list item. I just clear this one off in there because I copied it from the Word document. So I just clear it off so we can be able to get a nice structure in there. All right. Okay. So let me tap so that it can be in the same. We can know which one is correct. I can just highlight and then tap so we can see the heading parts were in there, and then the body is over there. So there's a body follow and then the heading in the nav. So we didn't open our nav, so we made sure we put it in the nav. So we have the nav. Sorry, so the semantic open our nav. So sorry for that. This one's supposed to be in the nav. So in the nav, in there, down, let me put in our list item in there. All right, so this is what the nav section in there. So the nav contained in the list item. Now the least but not the last is the main. So the main, if you can see, if we check our focal websites, we have sections about me, then education, technical skills, hobby, and then contact us. So we have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections in there. So we can go and verify our PDF and see. So these are sections we have about me, then education, background, and skills, hobby, and then contact us. So you have 5 sections in there. So we are going to create in our 5 section from that aspect in there. Now you can also comment in your code. Don't forget you do your comment. So anybody can able to read this place. You can comment and then talk about your heading section. This one is your heading section in over there. So I can just come and put in the comments in there. So this one is the header section in there. Then we have our next place is the navigation in there. So we have our navigation in there. So that's what we have in there. So the main, we have section. So where we have the main, let's comment on that one. So we have in our comments, we have the main content. So that's where our main content is. So in our main content, we're going to put in our sections. So we have now got to know that we have 5 sections. So the first one is about me. So I open the section. So section in there. Let me tap so that I can have it. So in the section, my first section where I have about me, so I put in heading 2 and I'll say about me. We want to try with all the headings, so we can try the heading 3 also for the next one. So we are done with the first section. And then the second section, we have the what do you call it in there. So let's check our PDF. Our second section, we have our educational background. So we are taking the section one after the other. So the next section is education background. So maybe here I can copy about, I can comment and see these places. About section. And then the next one, we can comment and then talk about the education section. All right. So in this section, I'll just come here and then open heading 3. We want to try with the other heading. So that one will say educational background. All right. So that's it. So we are done with this section. Now we open now the list third section in there. So this third section will be on our skills. So skills. So we have the technical skills in the our skills. So let's check in our focal points. Oh, we have our skills. I already shared with you. So you can also go and verify in the PDF. Yes, so we have skills. So skills in this session is a skills. So let me do a skills in there. So in our code, we open in and we can use the heading 4. Let's try the other heading. So we can say skills. We can use heading 2 too, but we want to just try with the other headings. So the other section, which is the after skills, we have another section which is the hobby section. So let me comment on this one. So this one is skills. Then this one is hobby. Hobbies. So I can introduce heading 5. Yeah, I just want to try the other headings. Say hobby or maybe my hobby. And then the last one is the last section. We do the contact. So let me comment on this one. So I'll share the code and everything. You can compare with yours to see. So let me use the heading 6 in doing that. You can use any heading. Just I want to try with all the headings that we have learned so far from our previous lesson. So contact me or us, maybe contact me. So we have able to put in the main. We are finished with the main content with 6 sections. So we our last but not the least is a footer. So footer in there. So we open our footer section and then come on, open our footer. So in the footer, that's where we put in our footer information. So let's comment on this one. Then after we put in the comments, so this was the footer in there. All right, so now if we save this one, we see the structure. So quickly, let's put in some information. Then the other ones you work on them in over there. So when you go into our focal point, we have some other drop down information in there. So let's go to the top there. When they are done with the structure, we check in the menus where we have the about us section. This one is the main content where we have the navigation. So navigation, we have the home and then the profile. So the profile is having in some drop down in over there. So in the nav, we are going to the profile put in some sub list items in there. So about me, education, career goal. So when you check in the focal points, you can see in over there, there's a sub here is it. So it's another list under in there. So let's go in to the nav section in there. So we are going into our nav section in our code. So this is our nav. So where this is where we have our profile. So in our profile, where we have the closing of the profile, where we have the closing of the profile, we want to put in another list. So we open our other lists in there. Then we have three list items, which we know from the other aspects in there. We have the academics, another three list items in there. So let me put in a list item. So 1, 2, and the third one. Great. So if you check the indentation, this one is well close with the list item, and they are inside the profile. And the profile list is also closed in nicely here. So let's see, put in the information. So we have about me, we have the education. So I put the education in the next list, and then the career goes into the next list. And then after we clear it. So let me clear this one. And because I copied, it's copying some information there. Let me use a tab to do the indentation nicely in there. All right. So that is what we have done. The menu, the other list items under the profile in there. So that's what we have able to achieve in nicely there. Now, our next item, when you check in the focal point, we have where we have the courses and then projects, and then under the courses, they also drop down menu. So we check in our focal point. Let's create that one, and then the rest follow, and then you do it. So we have courses, and then the other list is projects. So we come in, and then in our editor, we go into our academics. So the academics part, we open an order list in there. So with two list item, courses, and so we have our courses, and the last one, let me see, in the and projects. So courses and projects. So projects in there. All right. So when you check in where we have the courses and the projects, if you check our focal point, we have levels of courses. So there's another list, three list items within the courses. So in these courses, we want to open an other list, which is a UL, and put in three list item LI in there. So I put in my three LI, then put in the levels over there. So we have level 100, then level 200. So let me copy it, then because it's a repetition, and I'll edit it. And then level 300. So that's why if you check in the structure, here's it updated. Then we have the project. So the project two, we have HTML project, CSS, and JavaScript under the project. So where we have the project list in there. So this is a project list. We open all the lists in, then we put in 3 list item in there. So let me just copy and then paste them. So we have just HTML and then JavaScript. So the first one is HTML projects. And then so let's see if it's a singular or so HTML projects and then CSS projects. So CSS projects. And the last one is JavaScript projects. JavaScript projects. So you can preview this one to see the outcome of this one. So we have exhausted the menu, we have done this and this. All right, so what is left is just to put in these content in there. So the section part where we have the about me, we have just a paragraph and an image in over there. So we have an image and then a simple paragraph. So let's go straight in. And if you see the focal point, after you're done with the nav, the content aspects, we have the about us section, we have the profile picture and then some introduction picture in there. So that's what is the same thing that we have in the so we go straight to our editor and then where we have the main content, we have about me. Under the about me in the section of the about section, we open in an image tag and insert in an image. So that's what we are going to do in there. So image in and then SRC, then we insert in our image, we put in our alt, so the alt in there, so we can say is a profile picture, my profile picture, profile picture in there. So let's see if we can get an image in, and then, but as we have already learned from the previous level, we know how to create in the folder structure. So we're going to see how we can able to create an image folder and then import it in our HTML. All right, so we are going to check in and then we see. So let me go back and then reopen our folder so that we can organize the folder very well in there. So, all right, so this is our folder. Have a try. I'm going to create a folder and then in this folder, so I click here and create a new folder. I will name it image. So I'm going to put in images, some images inside in there. So if you have any image, you just drag it into the folder in there. So if you have an image, you just drag it into the folder. I just drag my the images in there. So now that we have in our index page, let's go and then insert in the image in over there in about me. So where we have the about me, I think we didn't save, so it's gone. We come here and then call the image, and then we say src, then with the current position dot slash the image folder, the image name, and then the alt, we put in the alt, and then this is one is my profile picture. Okay, so you make sure you close your in there the image, close it. If you don't close, you see the red sign over there. So I just close it, pin over there. So image have been inserted. I'll just have another paragraph in to just write something about me there. So let me just copy in the existing information. So you can just put it in. Hello, my name is this, a student of KSTU. So let's just copy in there. So we see that the name is bolding and this one is more, is being italic. So let's see how we can able to put in the paragraph. So we just copy in and paste in. Hello, my name is John. So let me use name, put in name, let's see Vicentia, and then I'm a level 100 student of computer science, student at KSTU. All right. Or can just do hyphen KSTU. So at KSTU. So this is where we have our paragraph. So we can broaden your name by introducing the strong. So you know what the strong is used in. We're just applying the tag that we have learned. So the name is supposed to be in between the strong so that it's be bolden. And then where we have computer science, I want to italic this one. So that one will use the EM in there. So we put in the computer science, we just highlight it and then you just drag it inside. So you drag it in between. So when we have the EM, it means we want to italic that one. So now we left with a few things. Let's quickly do it and then we share the code again. So where we have the education, if you can see, is a list of items about education. So we introduce in three lists item, basic school, and then in the education. So you just open in your editor, and then in the where we have the education, you open your editor after the heading 3, you open your UL, and then you open your, so the way the UL, you put in your three list in over the basic school certificate, and then you are good to go. The least, not the other aspect is the technical aspect in the where we have our skills. So the skills school, if you can see in there, when you check where the skills is, the outlook of our skills. If you go into the top there, you can see that the skills uh, we have a title and list of item skills in there. So we have web uh, web development, and this one has SAP under this item. So we open our first URL with two list item, web development and programming, and another list in there. So that's what is a nested list. So in this one too, we go in with our skills. So where we have our skills in there, I already developed it. So I'll share the code and check. So if you can see, we have our URL. Here is it. Right, let me do the indentation so you can able to see them very well. So we have our UL. So this UL in over here, this is the first UL which ended down here. And this UL is having two list items. So this one which is close there, and then the second one is the programming. Now under the first list item, we have some list of items. So you open your another second list items in over there. And then so this is the second list items in over there. So we have the HTML and CSS under the web, and you close your first list. And then the second list, which is a programming, you open with our UL and put in our programming language in there nicely. So here is it, and this is the closing of the list item. And then the UL, the main UL, which is open here, is closed in nicely in here. So the last aspect is our hobby. So the hobby to, if you go and check our focal point, is numbered. So let's go here. This is where numbered. Here is it 1, 2, 3. So open our OL and then put in our 3 in number. So the hobby section, we go to the hobbies. Here is it with the heading. We put in there nicely. So we open with our hobbies in there. So you can put in as many hobbies as you have. And the last part is the contact us. So for the contact us, we only have in paragraph in there. So the contact us, let me do that one. So the contact, I put in a paragraph in this. So when you go in and go and check in the contact, we have the email and a GitHub, our GitHub account. So let's open in a paragraph and then we put in an email. So with the email in there, I open my first email. So the email, first one is email. So where we have the email, I bring my column, the name, and I'll bring, because the email is a hyperlink, I'll then do the anchor tag with the href, and then I put in the email, we all know the mail to, and then column, you put your email there. So Mercy Vin dot with my email at kstu dot edu.gh. Then you close your anchor tab nicely. So in between, in there, you can put in your email. So you copy the email. Maybe click to email me or mail me. You can put in and say email me. All right. So and then the last aspect is the last paragraph is the GitHub account. So we can have a last paragraph with our GitHub in there. So GitHub, our GitHub account. So this one. So I open in the anchor tab in there. Open my anchor tag. I'm going to show you the href. And then I put in my GitHub account. So if you have a GitHub account, you just put it there. So or any account that you have, maybe your YouTube channel, just put it there nicely. Then you put it there. So come in there. And then we put in a tag because an external is an external page that we are linking. We put in target so it can open a new tab. So the targets in, we just do underscore blank. So blank is open it in a new tab. And then after we close it and then we put in visit my or visit my GitHub. So visit my GitHub or your YouTube channel, any of them that you want to put it there. So we are done with the structure. Now let's preview and see how our structure is nicely look in a browser. All right. No, sorry, this is not a structure. So you cannot preview yours and see how it's been look in there. That's mine. All right. So this is the structure. That's what it's supposed to have. It's what we're supposed to have in the structure in there. All right. So sorry. So if you can see, we have an email, contact me. So I think they have done the spellings in the email. Just rectify the spellings and then you are good to go. All right. So we are done with the structure. So you have any comment or any issue, let me know at the comment section as you watch the video. Like it. Have any question, we shall share the code and then you can compare it with yours to see if there's an error, you fix it. So you need to get this structure so that in our next session, we're going to apply in that HTML code in there. So that's all we have. Thank you and bye bye.